Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever wondered what programming is really all about? It can seem super complicated, right? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and demystify the basic building blocks that make all software work. And we'll do it by looking at two of the biggest languages out there, Python and JavaScript. Let's get into it.
So what is programming when you really get down to it? Honestly, it's a lot like writing a recipe for a chef. You have to write down every single step very clearly in the exact right order. The computer is your chef, and here's the catch. It's an incredibly literal chef. It will follow your instructions perfectly, for better or for worse. And to help us out in the kitchen today, we've got two amazing robot chefs, Python and JavaScript. Now, they might write things down a little differently, with their own unique handwriting, but the recipe itself, the core logic of what they're trying to cook, that's going to be the same. And you'll see that's a pattern that comes up again and again. All right, so every good recipe needs ingredients, right? In programming, it's the exact same idea. Our ingredients are just bits of information, or data, and we need a way to keep track of them all. And that's where variables come in. Think of them like labeled jars in your pantry. You put something inside, like text or a number, and you slap a label on the jar so you can find it and use it later. That's all a variable is, a named container for a piece of information. So let's take a peek at how our two chefs, Python and JavaScript, actually do this. You can see they're both creating these containers to hold some information. The idea is exactly the same, but the way they write it out, what we call the syntax, has some tiny little differences. Okay, let's really zoom in on this. Look at the Python side. Super straightforward, right? Name equals Alice. Done. Now look at JavaScript. It's doing the same thing, but you'll often see that little word let at the beginning and a semicolon at the end. It's like the difference between saying tomato and tomato. Same ingredient, just a slightly different accent. Now, obviously, not all your ingredients are the same. You've got flour, you've got eggs, you've got sugar. They're all different types of things. Well, in code, our variables can hold different types of data too. The most common are text, which programmers call strings, numbers, of course, and simple true or false values, which are called booleans. And the cool thing is, both Python and JavaScript totally get this. They know the difference between text, like hello, a number, like 42, and a simple true-false answer. At this fundamental level, they pretty much speak the same language. Okay, so we have our ingredients all lined up in their labeled jars, our variables. But, a pile of flour and sugar on the counter isn't a cake, right? You have to actually do stuff with them. You need actions. And in the world of code, those actions are called operators. They're basically the verbs of your recipe. Mix, combine, chop. Operators are just symbols that let us perform tasks, like adding two numbers or checking if two things are the same. And here's the best part. You already know most of these. Seriously. A plus sign means add. A minus sign means subtract. This stuff is super intuitive because it's based on the same math we all learned back in grade school. But here's a little inside baseball for you, a small but important difference. When you want to check if two things are equal, Python uses two equal signs. But in JavaScript, you'll often see three. That's for a strictly equals check. It's just one of those little quirks you pick up, like learning a new dialect. So let's recap. We've got ingredients in our variables, and we've got actions with our operators. But that's still just a static list of steps. What makes a program actually smart? How can it make its own decisions or, say, repeat a task 1,000 times without you having to tell it every single time? Well, that brings us to the real magic, the brain of the operation, the logic. This is where programs start to feel alive, using things called conditionals to make choices and loops to do repetitive work without getting bored. So what's a conditional? It's just a fancy word for making a choice. It's all about if this, then that. Think about our recipe. If the cake looks golden brown, then you take it out. That's a conditional statement. It lets our program react differently based on the situation. Take a look at this. Both Python and JavaScript are asking the same simple question. Is the age 18 or older? If the answer is yes, they print one message. If it's no, they print something else. Yeah, the syntax is a bit different, a colon here, some curly braces there, but the decision-making logic, absolutely identical. Okay, but what about when you need to do the same thing over and over and over again? You're not going to write the same line of code 100 times. No way. That's where loops come in. Ever wondered how your music app plays every single song in a playlist? That's not magic, it's just a loop doing its job. And here's a super common way to do it, called a for loop. All we're telling both languages here is, hey, do this thing, print hello 3 times. It's so much more efficient than writing it out by hand, right? It's clean, it's powerful, and it saves a ton of work.
All right, let's put it all together. We've seen all these different pieces, these building blocks, but the real power, the real fun, is when you start snapping them together to build something real.
So here it is, the basic recipe for almost any program you can imagine. Step 1, you store your info with variables. Step 2, you use operators to do stuff with it. Step 3, you add some logic with conditionals so it can make decisions. And step 4, you use loops to handle repetition. That's pretty much the whole game right there. And this is the most important thing I want you to walk away with. The logic is always the same, even when the language looks a little different. Once you get the idea of what a variable is or what a loop does, you can learn any new programming language. It's just about learning a few new grammar rules. The hard part is already done.
So, you've just learned the fundamental grammar of logic itself. It's like learning the rules of a new universe. The only question left is, what kind of amazing, useful, or just plain fun recipe are you going to write first?